This lesson is about how to make our 3D line sculptures. In the first half of this video, I will show you a sculpture that looks like this, and in the second half of the video, I will show you one that looks like this. For these lessons, you're going to need paper, glue, scissors, a pencil or a paintbrush to help round out your papers, and then in the second half, you're going to need some hot glue. Don't forget to have a messy mat to keep your space clean while you work. Begin by choosing which sheet of paper is going to be your base, and then you're going to use your other sheets of paper to cut strips. You can cut them vertical or horizontal depending on how long or short you want your strips to be. These strips are going to be your lines in your line sculpture. If you do not have construction paper of different colors, you can consider using just plain white paper. You could take the plain white paper and color on them with markers to make different designs and patterns, or you can even use some of your other artworks or printed papers to make color strips as well. I chose to use colored construction paper for my lines, and I did cut some that were thicker and some that were thinner to make thick and thin lines. Next, I looked at the sheets of paper and I tried to decide how can I use these sheets of paper to fold or bend to make different types of lines. Next, I needed to decide how I was going to get those lines to stand up on the paper. I did this by folding small little edges at the bottom to create feet for my lines. This way, there's an edge that I'll be able to place on the paper and I can get it to stand. But it's not going to stand on its own. It's going to need a little bit of glue on the bottom of those feet to help make those lines stand up. And when I go to stick the lines onto the base paper, I want to make sure that I hold and I count to 10 seconds to really make sure that those lines stick. And ta-da! You have now created a simple curved line that is standing on the base paper. I'm going to use that zigzag line that I had made earlier by folding that sheet of paper, and I'm going to glue that onto my line sculpture as well, using a little bit of glue on the bottom of its foot, sticking it onto the base paper, making sure I count to 10 seconds so it really sticks on there, and then I'm going to attach this zigzag line onto my curved line, and I'm going to do this by adding a little bit of glue on the top there, and I'm going to stick it underneath my curved line. I'm going to encourage you to try to add in as many different line types as you can think about, such as my next line, which is going to be a spiral line. I'm going to use my pencil to wrap my paper around the pencil, create a little foot at the end, and then I have now made a spiral that I can add into my line sculpture. Next, I wanted to make a wavy line. I didn't want it to be as harsh of a line as my zigzag, so I didn't press down as hard, so I have more of a wave and not a zigzag. I'm going to create little feet at the bottom of this line as well that I can then glue and stick onto my paper. You can fold your foot out or you can fold your foot in. I chose to make the feet of my wavy line go on the inside of my line, which I will show you what that looks like in just a second here once it's stuck onto my paper. And here you can see the difference in those feet. My zigzag line has a foot on the outside, while my wavy line has a foot that goes on the inside. Next, I'm going to use my pink strip of paper and I'm going to cut it into pieces to create a broken line on my line sculpture. You may also call this line a dashed line. I'm going to create another type of a broken line, which is called a dotted line, by creating small dots by cutting out circles from my strip of paper, and I'm going to make that dotted line go on top of my curved line. My green line is going to be a curved line that goes all the way around to create a circle, and I'm going to glue that onto my sculpture as well. All I'm doing when I'm gluing my lines onto my sculpture is I'm looking for an opening, a place that I think that line would fit, and I am gluing it on. My purple line is going to be a loop-de-loop, a curly line. I'm going to create that loop-de-loop or my curly line by gluing the bottom of the line onto the corner of my paper, loop-de-looping that line around, and then I'm also going to glue it onto the bottom of my curved line. I didn't have to create feet for this one because I was able to use that flat edge of the paper. And once you get the hang of making all these different line types, you can continue to build on to your line sculpture to make it as crazy and as busy as you want. In the end, it's almost going to look kind of like a mini amusement park. For the next line sculpture, you are again going to need to choose your base, and then you're going to be creating tubes by rolling the paper around a paintbrush or a pencil. You can use any paper like I chose to use here. I used a piece of a magazine and I rolled it around, used my hot glue just at the end to create a seal for my line, and I just took the paintbrush out when I was done, trimmed the paper to be the size of the tube that I want, and I've created a line. And I'm going to repeat this process again and again to create different lines of different sizes and color. Just remember to roll from the corner of the paper, go all the way up, leave that little lip for a little bit of hot glue, roll past it. It may get a little on your messy mat, and that's okay. And if your paintbrush or your pencil gets stuck, just poke it through with the other one. Once you finish creating all of your different line tubes, you then want to glue one to the center of your base. You're going to use hot glue to stick it right into the center facing straight up and hold that line in place until the glue dries. Once that line is standing at the center of your base, you can then use your hot glue to continue attaching lines to it. You can attach it to the center base, you can attach them to the other lines that you've added on, and you can continue to build until you have a really interesting sculpture made out of your different tubes.